Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the March 8th, 2020 Board of Education's regular meeting. Renee, could you do a roll call, please, sir?
Mr. King?
Present.
Ms. Reese?
Present.
Ms. Sebastian?
Here.
Mr. Elam?
Here.
Ms. Mansfield?
Here.
Excellent. Please, to the community, please rise and join with me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, any additions to the agenda or any new agenda items? Nobody? Next will be hearing of the public with regards to agenda items. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Natalie Donahue. I just wanted to follow up on a few things actually from the workshop agenda and one kind of well, they're all kind of following on tonight's agenda as well. But I did want to mention that I did notice that the renewal tax levy for the 5-year extension is on the agenda for tonight. But also I did want to go back to what was said at the workshop last week, perhaps about taxpayer fatigue. And I just really wanted to, note that I would rather have taxpayer fatigue than have a continuous levy on there, because if I understand continuous means continuous, it wouldn't be up for vote after 2 years or 5 years or whatever the amount of years is. And the reason is, while you all are fiscally responsible, let's say the next board comes in or the next administration comes in and we're not so happy with the way things are going. It's kind of like accountability and a score and a grade card. And I would rather have to review everything and do a check, a health status check on how things are going with the budget and everything else, to know that I'm behind that levy again. And I do know there is additional cost to the school every time they have to do that. I recognize that, but it's the only way the taxpayers have any say in anything other than maybe voting for the board. It'd be like your own personal life. Would you ever really write an open-ended check that would go on and on and on until you die someday? But anyway, I just wanted to say that I prefer a limited amount of time on each levy as you go forward with. I think there's going to be one that you're going to be working on. But anyway, I know you probably already voted on that. I just want to give you my 2 cents worth for that. And the second thing is, as far as, sorry, there was something else. The fatigue of meetings. I know you all have been spending a tremendous amount of time in workshops and extra building project meetings. And I know the facilities meeting was canceled prior to this. And I just want to say that I do like those, because that's my best way as a community member to stay in touch with what is going on with the building project. Even the little details of how the building is. I was able to listen in when they did the virtual outside tour, and that was valuable. So I appreciate that. And I did want to say, I know there was a comment made that it might be the building, like the kind of final interpretation of the building would be put online. I looked today, I may have missed it, but I don't know if it has been put on the school website yet, but if it has, maybe somebody could point me in that direction, because I know at the last meeting, there was some kindergarten, first grade on this side, up to 5th grade on this side. And I never did see really how that ended up. And maybe you're still, working through that, but I just want you to know that those things, I saw that page, but I couldn't find, if there's anything more on that page, Lori, I didn't see it. So I just wanted to tell you that I do appreciate the facilities meetings as well.
Brennan, has that been uploaded to the website?
The latest meeting.
This is all that's out.
That's just the overarching look. I
Yeah.
think, one of the things we wanted to make sure we had was because it was going from that meeting straight to being submitted to the OFCC. And our concern was if OFCC did not approve a portion or a section, that then we would have something on the website, and then come back with something different.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to manage those expectations because I lived through the project for this high school where we were showing one thing and then things changed and had something else. And so no one was able ever to recover, I think, from that change of what was approvable. And so we're just trying to make sure that when we say this is it for real. So from that.
I thought, yeah, there was going to be a banner on there saying that, this is just.
Draft or something.
I did ask, we had a core meeting today, and I did ask Garmin Miller, Justin asked as well, if we could get a layout of how the stadium and the K-5 building and the parking lots are gonna be with the existing campus, because I think that would be helpful, but they cautioned us again today, until it's been approved, you really want to put that out there. So that's the reason it hasn't been put out. But I think the layout will help too, because for me, I need the picture.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, a layout, just a general, you don't need all the intricate details, but just a general layout, because I guess maybe I've been following the details too close, but I was curious to see how it ended up, to be honest with you, so.
Yeah, hopefully in a couple weeks.
And I know it's flexible because I know things have to be approved. I understand all that, sure, yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to know, share that with you. And the last thing then is because the BZA, I can say this, that I really appreciate all of you, the board, the staff, the administration, tremendous, the teachers. I no longer have a student because my youngest graduated last year, but I am so impressed with such a good job you guys have all done. And so I thank you for the community and for the students. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. No other comments in regards to the agenda? Excellent. Thank you for coming in to share your thoughts with us as well. Next is administrative reports. Turn over to Mr. Perks.
Good evening. Tonight we have our communications director, Mrs. Holly Mutlu. She is here to provide a communications department update for Bethel local schools. There is a handout to pass around. I can also send an email to the board members that are attending virtually so you guys can take a look at it as well, but Brennan's also going to present it on the screen. This is a friendly reminder to folks out in the community. The district and the Board of Education was gracious enough to provide a communications director this year with a lot of the activities that we have going on in the district. We felt we were at a point in time where we could really streamline a lot of our internal and external communications. And Mrs. Newton's done a very nice job, really kind of getting us on track as far as our communications to the public and then also internally as well. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome her this evening here to the Board of Education meeting to provide an update on some of the trends that she's noticed with our communications and then also some of the work she's done over the last, probably getting close to a year. Yeah, and then also what are some things that we're going to have on the horizon as far as upcoming projects.
Okay, the first thing I want to say is first, thanks for having me. Appreciate having the opportunity to speak. I'm going to try to keep it brief. A lot of this details I'm going to skip over, but I really wanted to focus in on this beginning part. But before we get started, if you have your phones, I'm not sure how many of you have the actual Bethel Local Schools app downloaded, but if you'll take a look, it has had a significant update. And whereas before it was just a plain green screen with the menu of documents, the quick links, different buildings, departments, now there's the live feed, the events, which is a beautiful thing. The features also include, if you click on the event, you can tap on an event and you actually have the option to share it with a family member or to add it into your own calendar. And one of the other fun features that I love is that if you go to the staff page, you can actually tap on the staff members. I don't know how much staff members might love this, but you just tap on their profile and you have the option to call or email the staff members. So it's really created so much easier access on a lot of different things and being able to share more information. So excited about that. And I released just tonight, it was posted that we did a video. So I did a video tutorial of all the updates for those who aren't familiar with the app, for those who have the app but maybe are ready for that upgrade or ready to go through the updates, because I know some people are still getting used to it. And so as we go from the app and the website are both hand in hand. And so looking at the Google Analytics, I went through the search analytics, which is what I really want to spend most of my time on this evening, is the Google Analytics. We've got 4 things that we're looking at right here in the boxes there on the graph. The one is the total clicks. We've got total impressions, average click-through rate, and then average position. The clicks are when you Google Bethel local schools, it's how many people click on one of the links that show up in the Google search. The average position is where we show up in the Google search. The impressions are the amount of people that see us in a Google search. And then the click-through rate is how many people actually click through once we're Googled. So I know it's kind of a lot of information, but to simplify it, what I've done, because COVID, I kind of feel like wasn't fair. A lot of things changed. So I tried to get the dates that would really correlate between last year and this year. So before we had Apogee until now. And so I basically just took January 1st through March 1st and compared the analytics that we have there. So in January of 2020, January 1 through 3/1/2020, we had 32,700 impressions. So it showed up in 32,700 people's feeds. We had 621 people click with an average click-through rate of 1.9%. And the average position on the page was 10.8. So we're down at the bottom of the page. Looking at now versus last year, we had 31,700 total impressions. So we're down 1,000 impressions. However, our clicks are up to 2,170. So our clicks are up approximately 350%. So to me, that blew my mind. I was completely elated and excited about that. So we're averaging, just this year, we're averaging 1,085 clicks a month. In August, it was off the charts because it was brand new. So people were really searching and looking around. So again, I wanted to give it enough time to where we could actually compare from last year to this year and pre-COVID, right? Because once COVID hit, then everything was changed. And I think it's interesting that the impression rate has gone down by 1,000, yet our click rate has, again, gone up roughly 350%. Now, if we go to the next page, we'll look at the top 5 query searches: Bethel local schools, Bethel high school, Bethel K-12, Bethel schools. The average click went up 400%. So we are increasing. I didn't include all of the queries because there's some on there that but you can see here that we are definitely improving, but there's still room for more improvement. How can we improve more? Well, technically we need to increase our SEO, our search engine optimization. So we need to do that. I also want to get detailed analytics of what's going on within the site itself. Unfortunately, due to different analytics last year versus this year and how things were run on the site last year versus this year, we're not going to be able to gauge an accurate comparison between the 2 years. And I can get into that another time. But so the actual gauge that we're going to have to utilize to continue to improve will be this year to next year, just to keep it. Right now, we're comparing apples to oranges or apples to watermelons, really. It's just a completely different ballgame. So, but I'm really looking forward to doing that next year. And I think too, because things have been shut down, and because of COVID, a lot of our teachers are so busy just taking care of the kids and keeping safety first and maintaining all of the guidelines that they have right now. They don't have time to give us the inside scoop of what's going on in the classroom as they normally would. Fortunately, each building has created their own Instagram account. So we have people in the different buildings who are going through taking photos and putting those on Instagram, which are now on the app as well. So that's on that menu on the app. So that's super exciting. So we still have that aspect so that people can still be relational and see those things. But as I believe going into next year, when hopefully things kind of settle down and we can get back into whatever our new normal will look like, teachers will be able to have more time to focus in and share what's going on in the classroom and the exciting things. Also, as we begin to open up now, I can tell you just within the last week and a half, my inbox has dramatically increased with different announcements as we move forward with prom, which is awesome, and fundraisers and things like that. So lots of more announcements coming up. So there'll be a lot more going into the feed, which will increase our SEO rate and also just people going on the page. So going into the future, as we go in, I'll let you guys, read through the pages later, but as we head into summer, my ultimate goal is to focus in on, Brennan, it's probably down a couple of pages. The ultimate goal for me is to go ahead and implement an internal communications procedure. Right now, the main source of communications internally is email. And if you've ever been a part of any of the group emails, you get a lot of them and it's easy to miss information. And so I know I myself have been guilty of missing information simply because there are so many emails. So I have a meeting tomorrow with a company to work on an intranet. So it's an internal communication feature, system, tool, whatever you want to call it. And I'll be working and researching other formats, platforms, things like that to find the best platform that will meet our needs as a district as we continue to grow. I look at it and I know it's easy to look at Bethel where we're at right now. I'm not looking necessarily at just where we're at right now, but where we will be in 5 years. So as we look at the projections, for the buildings and things like that, the website is set up so that when we go into separate buildings, the website too will begin to grow and develop along with that. So it's really exciting because we're able to set the groundwork for where we're going. This has been an amazing opportunity because this is the first time the district has ever had anyone do any sort of communications. Is that correct? So we're implementing all kinds of procedures and systems and strategies, which I understand takes a lot of patience and effort on the community's part, upon the staff's part. And so I'm really, really grateful for the staff who's been very cooperative and supportive on all these changes because it has been a lot. But I'm super excited to have the internal communications. As we do that, that'll help bring all of the events. I know we were talking, Mr. Firks and I were talking before the meeting that the calendar on the new app, we want to integrate all of the different events that are going on and not just some of the major events. So this summer, I'll be working a lot on that. Long-term goals, I'd love to have set up open houses and tours for families coming in, setting up mentoring programs for new families coming into the district. I would love to improve the community relations, also bringing in some translators so that we can reach our Russian Turkish community a little bit better and communicate more effectively with them. And then also one of the things that I am going to implement here before the start of summer is a work study program so that we can get students involved. As you well know, they are great on social media. They can do so much with this, and I'd love to be able to help them get a head start because there are many careers that have been started at the age of 13 and are now 24 years old simply because of social media. So I guess that's just, I'm gonna wrap up there if you guys have any questions.
Right after Julie, you have any questions?
I really don't. I would just say thank you for putting together the report. I look forward to a lot of the projects you've mentioned. I think you have some really great ideas, Holly, and thank you so much.
Sure, my pleasure.
This is Julie. I do have one question. On the website, are you looking at reducing the number of clicks that it takes to get to a target document or object. It seems like some of them you have to click, like 6, 7, 8 times.
Okay, well, what we do on most of the documents, when they're uploaded and delivered to me, they are put through the news feed or the live feed, both of which give a direct link to the documents. There are other documents that, yes, unfortunately, there's just no way to avoid, especially when it comes to the board meeting minutes. If you're looking, like, there's a general folder for the board, and then you go into the meeting minutes, and then you've got to pick the year, and then you have to pick the month, and then you have to pick the meeting. Unfortunately, that's unavoidable. That was the best way to organize it, based upon recommendations from Apogee and the way they formatted it.
So that's a good example. We had a simplified, like a grid, where it just listed for each year all the documents, all the meetings, all the dates.
Yes.
With columns, like maybe something like that could at least eliminate a couple of clicks. I don't know. I just wondered if you were looking at it, because sometimes that is a little frustrating when you have to keep click, 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 click.
I understand that for sure. The way Apogee is set up is it's a framework. So I am limited with what I can do. So if you notice, all the information is actually put out via a live feed or a news feed, and then the documents are all in document folders. And like I said, every feed, every post has a link to, if there's a document that's released, there's a link within the news section or the live feed that links directly to the document. So it's you can find it easily when it's posted. It's when you're digging for the older information, but I will tell you that there is a search engine in the app itself where you can go through and you can just type in keywords, and anything that you're looking for under that keyword will show up under the search engine. But the way Apogee is formatted is I'm working within a framework that is already laid out. So it would be basically, if we were laying the foundation of a building, it would be like me trying to build a framework on dirt instead of concrete. Does that make sense? It's outside of the realm. So it's not going to be able to be sustainable.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I would say thank you so much. You've taken us light years in our program for our ability to communicate. I extremely love the app. I've talked about it in our sessions when we had the opportunity because it is so easy to use and information is quick, fast, and easy. And I would have to say that even the notification processes from the most recent incident dealing with the bus accident, from getting text messages from the system to the updates that were there to the one call now. I mean, if you didn't know that there was an incident on 40 with one of our buses, you should come in and see any one of the building leaders to get connected.
Right. Yeah.
To make sure you have the information, correct. From that, and all those pieces have been built upon the initial program that you helped bring us up to the 20th century. We're working on the 21st century, and we're going to be there soon. And that's because of you and all the hard work you've done. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. We do have the text feature that we will be utilizing more next year. The text feature is amazing. Again, it's one of those things where we don't want to get fatigued to where people start seeing what happened was during in the initial start of the school year, we were doing one calls regularly. And because they were coming in so often, a lot of people were just declining the call. And when COVID happened, we just said, okay, starting November 1st, we cannot do one calls because there are so many people just ignoring the call that when there is a student that came in that had to be quarantined and parent needed picked up immediately, then they were picking up their phones. And so I know that the one call shift was very difficult for a lot of people, but the reason why we did that was because there was one call fatigue, where we are very cautious going forward that we do not do notification fatigue, nor we do text fatigue or one call fatigue. So we're very, very consciously making an effort to just be minimal with how much we're actually putting out there. So the most important information is notified via notifications and text. And yeah, so, but yeah, the one call, that feature on Friday, the text feature was incredible to be able to use.
Yes. What I would say too is more than likely a lot of parents put the one calls on to voicemail just because there was so much information that we were getting from each of the building administrators that you can't write it down fast enough, but if you put it on voicemail, then you can go back and listen, stop, pause, right, and take
Yes.
notes and stuff like that. So now it's really nice that we have it readily available.
Well, I was gonna say, I know for me, I was one of those parents that was swiping on the one call because I would take notes and then I would listen several times over. But if you go into the search engine, you can put in principal weekly update, go to your principals, and everything's right there. So you don't even have to write anything down anymore, which is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for all your work. I listen to the one calls regularly, but I have to say I do not miss them. And like you said, the information is duplicated on the emails we get, and where you can go to the webpage or the Facebook page and get those. My question for you, because I just installed the app, and I'll be quite honest, I know that might be shocking, but I get dinged a lot. I have kids on multiple sports teams and I don't need interrupted 30 times a day, which happens on some of those forums. So you mentioned fatigue. How am I not going to get a text and an app message and maybe other notifications? How are you going to manage that? Because that is a concern.
So right now, if you notice, like Mr. King mentioned on Friday with the incident, the only time that text notifications will go out is in the event of an emergency. If there is some sort of emergency that happens or an urgent need that needs to get out there instantly, that will be the text message. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, we're gonna begin to use those next year for cancellations, delays, things like that. So, but that's the only time the text would be. The notifications on the phone, go ahead.
But I guess my question is then, are you duplicating it on the app? Am I getting a text and the app? And how does a parent manage that? Because I just need notified once, not 3 times through 3 different mechanisms.
Okay, well, if you want, you can go into the app and there's a settings portion. So in the new app, you'll go into the menu section, and I believe on it's the bottom left hand, there's a settings, and you can actually choose. So if you want to do it while I'm talking to you, you're more than welcome to. But I was gonna say, there's a settings, and you go in and you choose which notifications you want to receive. You can choose emergency only, you can choose district-wide per building. Option C, students can choose option C, information only. So, I mean, there's multiple things that you
I
can choose
didn't know
from.
that, so I learned
Yeah.
something new. So thank you.
We just, as Mrs. Musil mentioned, she just released a YouTube video. It's also on our Bethel YouTube channel. It's about 6 minutes long, and she actually goes through a tutorial for the community to kind of follow along with their phone and shows you a lot of the new features with the app. So I'd strongly encourage anybody to watch that 6-minute video if you want to learn more about the app, and she'll take you through a step-by-step process. We just put that out this evening, and so I hope to get a lot of hits on that.
And I would love to be able to, because for me, I know this inside and out, right? I've discussed it with Mrs. Sebastian. So a lot of things, I think sometimes it's so easy that it's almost complicated because we overthink it. So if people have any questions, they can email FAQ@blsk12.org and ask any questions that they want regarding the app or the website. I am more than happy to sit down, myself and Mr. Perez would sit down, come up with some video tutorials and begin to do a video library. We're actually planning on doing that, but we were going to wait until the new update came out so that it would be current. So lots of fun things planned ahead, but this is just kind of where we're at now. And as time allows, we'll continue to progress and move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I can briefly add that anyone who struggled with Android notifications earlier with the app, that they were on, off, they worked sometimes, they didn't work others. Since this update, I've had no issues. They've all come through. It's been awesome.
And I do want to add, and piggybacking on what you just said, Ms. Mansfield, is that the settings I go through actually in the video, a lot of times what was happening is each individual user's device had different notifications setting on there. So I did go through that on the video tonight too, just to let people know, to make sure that you can set your settings how you'd like on your device and within the app itself.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Anything else to add there, Mr. Brooks?
No, appreciate Mrs. Mutlu being here this evening. Thank you for the work that she's done. Like Mr. King had stated, it's been a huge upgrade to the district. We've made a lot of progress and we have a lot of areas to still improve on, and we look forward to continuing to try to make our communications the best they can be for Bethel, our parents, and our community members.
All right, moving on to number 6, it's the important dates for the district. And when we say important dates for the district, we mean, how about first ever for this school year dates? When we look at the middle school, high school band concert and the middle school, high school choir concerts that'll be going on in Bethel Hall, the 17th and 18th of March, as well as the alumni, senior faculty basketball game, right, March 13th, 6 p.m. Something about, if you're really part of the hive, right, then you'll be here for that. So those are key ones. And then have we gotten any solidity to the father-daughter date night in Wonderland? It just says TBD. All right. We shall check that date too, April 2nd. Could be an issue with that date as well, but at least we're planning those things that we're all covering.
I'll check.
Okay. Then obviously coming up, April 6th will be our work session. April 12th, then facilities meeting, and then our regular board meeting is also on the 12th. So looking forward to those. A couple items in there. I think we'll have a couple of special board meetings coming up with regards to negotiations. Other than that, I don't think there'll be a couple more as we go through this month, looking to go through the process for interviews and hiring a treasurer. Next is number 7, items from the treasurer requesting board action. Mr. Hattery.
Thank you, Mr. King. Board, I have the following items for approval tonight. The meeting minutes for the 2nd, 8th, and 16th. Payment of bills for February. The February financial report. The amended appropriations for February. Donations. As presented since the last one. The tax rates. And then the 2 that I have added here as per request from the board is the first resolution for the PI levy and the operating levy.
Okay. We have a motion to place items from the treasurer's report on the consent calendar. Thank you, Danny, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lida, for the second. Discussion. I would, like to just touch on as we looked at these 2 items going on the ballot, the levies. So the proposed PI levy. Brennan, what was our time frame on that one? Was that 10 years?
5 years.
Oh, that's right. 5 years is the maximum it can be.
Correct.
So we have that as a 5-year, and then our resolution for the operating levy, which is 7 mills, is based on our discussions. The majority chose to go forward to attempt for a continuous levy. Just wanted to, I know there were some comments tonight in regards to that. We know that there's a lot of voter fatigue, so we're trying to reduce that. but also take into account that, excellent points were actually brought up tonight with regards to the levies and how the voters can use that as a report card as well as how they wanted to vote. And I think this levy, being the 7 mil right now, part of what we have done with the financing of the school building and the stadium with regards to the larger OFCC project that's going to go on for several years. One of the key elements we need is to sustain that fund coming in so that we're able to actually continue to operate because of that. I think that over the last just over a year plus, some of our financing techniques, we were able to redo the bond, which saved taxpayers just over $3 million with regards to what they had to pay. So just to clarify, it wasn't that we had the $3 million, it's just that the collection will be $3 million less from the taxpayers with regards to the building project for the high school bond. And then by waiting, as we dropped into the state of Ohio program to assist us with building, instead of moving forward with what we had, we waited till we got to the new numbers, which then we moved up in the list, which reduced the burden on taxpayers, which was just over $3 million as well. So that we don't have to pay for the school building, which is, $6 million that we haven't had to ask taxpayers for now throughout the next 25 years from that aspect. So that was the reasoning that a majority had with regards to changing this one levy to the continuous versus the others that we have. But excellent points. And I do know that as we saw in the tax rates, that we have several for the community members to have that opportunity to vote on that aren't continuous, that still will give that opportunity for the community involvement and decision making. I feel like this is the time for this specific one that it should be continuous in this aspect. Any other discussions?
And Jacob, that was very, very well spoken. Something else I will tell Natalie, when we looked at these levies, Bethel has the most levies of any Miami County school to renew. 4 is a lot. And it's not just the fact that it costs us money, it takes all of our time. It takes Mr. Ferks's time, Mr. Hattery's time. We've got a lot of issues to deal with the growth. And trying to pass levies 4 levies every 5 years, it takes a lot of time and effort. Brendan has to go up to the auditor's office, get all the paperwork done, meet with legal counsel. On this specific levy that we're asking for continuing levy, for residential taxpayers, we are at the 20 mil floor. So what I'm telling you is we are approving it because some of the other tax-based commercial and agriculture is not at the 20 mil floor, but whether we pass this levy as continuing or not, you're still going to pay the same tax rates because of the 20 mil floor. So I want to assure you that from that regard, you're not looking at any different taxes. It's just it eases the burden on all of us. The second thing I wanted to mention, one of the minutes shows BASA, B-A-S-A. I believe it's a typo. It should be B-A-Y-S-A. I'd also, who made a donation in the prior minutes, Brennan, so if you could fix that before those are approved. And the third thing, I sent an email this afternoon. I couldn't understand one of the tax rates from the auditor's office, and just for the board's clarification, the 20 mil floor is a combination of the operating inside mills plus all those other mills. That's why I couldn't get the math to add up. So I am comfortable with the numbers the auditor has sent. So I apologize for that, but I couldn't, Brennan and I were not talking at the same level, and I finally went back and figured out where I had made the math discrepancy.
Thank you. And although it is a lot of work, though, I would say, Natalie, it's still worth it, right? To the community, because it the community, we provide the level of education to our students based on the community's desire, right, financially from that. So it's worth it as well to do those things. That's why we chose that this specific one was the one for the continuous versus difference.
Correct me if I'm wrong in saying this also, Lori, that when you say tax rate will be the same and so forth, and it is until reappraisals occur, correct?
Well,
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
it depends how reappraisals go, but the only thing we would get incremented on is if we fall below the 20 mil floor, and which is basically the inside mills.
Well, I was talking more about the individual taxpayer bill.
Well, the individual taxes, the individual levies are a fixed amount other than the income tax, which is not property tax based,
Right.
or the inside mills or the 20 mil floor. That's the only way the taxes for the school can increase, to my knowledge. And Brennan can correct me if I'm wrong.
So when millages are looked at, they're not looked at as an individual tax basis. They're looked at as a whole. So right now we're at 20.00025. Most likely on the reappraisal, unless something drastically happens, we'll reach that 20 mil floor. So on a normal thing, when you're not in the 20 mil floor, you only can gain taxes when appraisals go up on your inside millage because they can't adjust that. On your outside, because of House Bill 920, they reduction factor. Well, if appraisals go up next time, there's nothing to adjust because you're at the 20 mil floor. So yes, if property values do go up, taxes will go up by the value. But just remember, you're only taxed at 35% of the market value.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it won't unless your house doubles. Your taxes aren't going to go up a lot, but yes, they will because there's no way to go down.
Yes.
Because we can't go below 20 per alone. But just to clarify, when they look at millage, they look at it as a whole, not on an individual tax basis.
And maybe to explain, because I think it's confusing, when Brennan says fall below the 20 mil floor, if property values increase, then maybe the millage goes to 19.25. So then they roll it up to 20, which is how the increase happens. Does that sort of make sense? I mean, it's very complicated. I went back to get my treasurer's license because I couldn't understand the auditor sheets, and I finally have a better understanding, but it's not, how do I put this? There's a lot of layers to it.
Yes, I would say that the hardest part of sitting here is understanding the 20 mil floor for taxes and our levies and what does that mean to the individual taxpayer when, as a school district, it looks at the entire district as a taxpayer versus an individual. And so that's really hard because when you look at the fire department levy, it's very easy to say, okay, that's what they're asking for, and this is what I'm paying. Where for here, we're saying, hey, renew our 7 mil levy. You probably aren't paying it, but we need to have it in case something drastic happens to maintain our status. And then the fact that we can't drop below a certain 20 mils in that tax revenue. So it is very complicated. It's very unique. So. Any other discussions?
And I just do want to throw out there one more time, just a reminder, it is renewal. Both of these are renewals. They're not new. We're keeping things the same, just a renewal, not new.
And that's a great point, Lada, as well, because those continue with the rollbacks where the state pays a portion of that, the taxing. So as a renewal. Okay. With that, Brennan, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. England,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Motion to adopt the consent calendar with the requested amended items. Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Danny, for the second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to thank Brennan for his work getting these two levies through our legal counsel in time for tonight's meeting, because that's huge, so that we can have the second reading in April. So thank you, Brennan.
And I echo that. Okay. Brandon, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
Excellent. Any other information from the treasurer?
None at this time?
All right, so we'll turn it over to Mr. First for superintendent's items requesting board action.
We have one item on the agenda this evening for consideration by the Board of Education. Letter A is approval of open enrollment. It's what we discussed at our work session. It's open enrollment for the 21-22 school year based on board policy 5113. There are two file attachments that are included. The first one is the open enrollment policy and the other one is the open enrollment application.
Okay. Since this is a single line item to vote on, we'll go to C.
Yep.
A motion to adopt the approval of open enrollment.
I'll make the motion, Jacob. It's Julie.
Thank you, Julie, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori, for the second. Discussion? Hearing none. Julie, did you have something? Okay. Brandon, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Reese,
Sorry, I was just wondering if you could give a little explanation for the public.
Uh,
Mr. Ferks, maybe just say what this means, what it's for.
We have to do this every year to allow for any open enrollment students into the school district. And we also have to have this policy in place because we allow the teachers, if they choose to have their children attend our school that may not live in our district, this allows their students to attend with us. And we also clarify the priority of students that are allowed into open enrollment with regards to students that have already been here going through our program. So we want to, we understand the impact that is to a family, that they are a priority. And then siblings of those students. And then on a submittal application time after that. But the primary reason, number one priority is space. What space do we have available to allow for open enrollment students? I know that we're out of space for that. So we're allowing the students that have currently been in the program to continue, and for the teachers and staff, what's that?
To bring your children.
To bring their children and have them come attend school here with their parents. And then that'll be on a case-by-case basis, and that'll be noted on our website. But I believe we're full in the majority of the curriculum for now, or the classes, pending the finalization of OCC project. I know that we have to walk carefully with this program because of the space that we do have and where we may end up going in the future with our own growing community as it continues to grow. Did I pretty much summarize that?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Julie, no problem. All right. Any other items? All right. So now, Brandon, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Any other information from the superintendent, sir? Okay. A board report. Does anyone have any items to report? We'll have a problem with you. Is that correct? Yes. be dancing with masks, but they'll be dancing. So, which is awesome, that we can continue those unique traditions, so. All right, nothing else. Turn it over to hearing of the BEA president. Brewer.
I don't have much to say. I just wanted to say thank you. The vaccination day went very smoothly. For me personally, I was a little anxious because I thought I didn't sleep the night before and I set my alarm and I wanted to make sure I got there on time because I drive to the club. It was fine. I psyched myself out. So, but it was very efficient and thank you for that.
Excellent.
We're good.
All right. Number 13 is hearing of the public. All right. Going to executive session, does anyone have a reason of our number 7 items to go into discussions? I already have one that falls under number 4, which is preparations for conducting or reviewing negotiations and bargaining sessions. Do we have any others?
Yeah, we need to talk about number 1 too.
Okay.
Was that for number 1? I couldn't hear that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Item 1. All right. Does anybody have any other items that may fall under there?
That's all I have.
Okay. Do you think we'll need to make a decision after following discussions in executive session?
I don't know about what number 1's about, but for number 4, I do not.
Do you feel like we'll have to make a decision?
I do not anticipate that.
Okay. Julie, on yours?
No,
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Thank you, Danny, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. It's Julie.
Thank you, Julie, for the second discussion. To the community, based on what I'm hearing, there is no plan for any type of vote to occur after executive session, or based on those discussions in executive session at this time. Renee, could you call the vote, please?
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
All right, we'll list time into executive session at 7:53 p.m. Thank you all for joining us.